See if this works. Come on, work for me. There we go. Wow. We up? We here? Whew, okay. Well, I had one after the next strange technical difficulties. Most recently, the OBS crashed. My computer is acting very strange today. So we'll chalk that up to Mercury retrograde and give it a minute to get together. So, what's going to be different? We're not drawing figure. Going to be painting. I find sometimes it's great to do the practice, but I've been looking at this painting that I did the drawing for in one of these sessions so long ago, and no paint has been put on the surface. Oh, I just have to hit send on this, sorry. The freak out had things going a little strange, but I'm here now. It had logged me out of the YouTube, the Atelier YouTube, and I actually, because that happened, mistakenly started this stream on time, 1 minute before 6, on the Brian Batista YouTube. And then when I checked, it was, hey, Mr. Harry, thanks for being here. It was, the wrong YouTube was uploading. So then I had to go back in, but it had kicked me out of the Atelier Artista one. Very strange. So I get all that working. I'm excited. I hit start. Let's get this show going. And then OBS crashes. So a friend of mine had texted me and said that this is the shadow, the end of Mercury retrograde. And based off the fact that normally all this technology works for me, I've actually been set up for 2 hours just waiting to get going. And so it's very strange that it kind of exploded at the end. But you'll see we've got a very different layout set up. I got my painting stuff. I'm going to be showing you how I mix my Grisaille paint, and we'll also put an image up on the screen and kind of talk about the theory behind it. And then, you know, maybe I'll turn on some background music and just sit and paint a little bit different than drawing anatomy. Actually, now that I think about just like sitting in here, I feel kind of like, won't you be mine? Won't you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Maybe we'll just do the whole thing. Got great neighbors like you who tune in every week and watch the live stream. Thank you very much. It's been a technical nightmare lately. We're gonna go shoeless today. And Mr. Rogers, he had a sweater he put on, but I'm gonna put on my apron because we are dealing with oil paint. And oil paint can get messy. In fact, it's not that it's messy. I'm gonna actually wear gloves tonight. It's not that it's messy, it's that it doesn't dry. So, I work for 3 hours and maybe I get a little on my thigh. Then I go and I sit in my car. And I get out of my car. And tomorrow, it's cold in Calgary, and oil paint doesn't freeze. And tomorrow, I got my nice pants on. And I go and I sit back in my car, and now I've got the paint on my new clothes on the bottom of my leg. And I come to the studio, and I begin to draw. So now I put oil paint from me, my leg, to my car, to a new pair of pants, and now it's on a drawing horse. And someone else comes, because it takes days to dry. Now they've got the paint on them. So it gets around quick because it doesn't dry, not because it's messy. So I'm going to take my ring off and take the watch off too. I have been using a lot more gloves because of being at the tattoo shop. So I'm going to use gloves. You know, I'm in my 40s and I never painted with gloves on, but it actually makes a lot of sense. A lot easier to clean, just rip them off, and they're not cost prohibitive. So trying the new habit. It's good sometimes when drawing too. Then at least I have clean enough hands tomorrow. So I'm gonna have to pick up the camera a little bit and move around because I want to show you what I'm doing. So I don't have a fancy setup. Like I was on in Shona Ray's studio and she filmed me yesterday, and she's got like multiple cameras and a switcher. So maybe we'll upgrade this one day, but I doubt it because soon we'll be open and drawing real life and these live streams will be gone. So let's look down into my area. We're gonna make some paint. Well, we're not actually making the paint itself, but you'll get the idea. Okay. Let's do this thing. So I designed the Atelier for using the small palette cases. So it's a 9x12 in there. And so you can get these 9x12 let me go. Gray Matters palettes, which is great to work on because we're going to work on a toned surface and we want to see the value, what's light and dark. So I just put it underneath. This originally, it's for acrylic, so it came with like a sham wow at the bottom. Wow, it's really dirty too. So I put that at the bottom just so I have a relative value. And then this piece of glass came out of some dollar store. Actually, it feels pretty thick, but I like to work on glass because it's easy to scrape and then you see through to the palette rather than buying 1,000 sheets of those palettes. The other thing about this size is it fits in a mini fridge, and as I said not too long ago, oil paint doesn't freeze. So if you're not going to paint for a while, you can put it in your freezer. I would say if you're not going to paint within a week. We're going to use some speed drying stuff today because we're in our first layers, which are thin. You can use your solvent to thin your paint and a bunch of other stuff that I'll show you. So I love these things. I'm going to toss it. It came with little cups, which are useless for us oil painters. These are really designed for acrylic, but it works great here. These are the brushes one of my teenage students is using, so maybe we'll use some of those. But I like to put the paint brushes in the slot where the stupid cups were. The stupid cups. I do have oil cups, but we are not in that stage of painting. And today, doing Grisaille, I'm going to actually not do gray. Normally, when I start painters out and they're doing Grisaille, I actually would get them to use raw umber. And we paint from dark to light, so it's nice to set up the palette that way. I am going to put some raw umber down to represent the darkest darks. Because the color I'm choosing to play with today is not... So this you would do your value strip to white. This being the closest to your black. But I want to use this Richardson transparent red oxide because my concept behind this painting is desert colors. It'll be mostly an analogous color field, so yellows, oranges, red kind of tones, look very, very warm, to match the coyote that I'm painting as well. So this guy's glued shut. I normally would do it like this, in my teeth, but we're trying to teach good habits. So have yourself some pliers if your paint tube is old. And this one's old, and it was leaking, and I covered it in duct tape. So we're gonna put some of that down on the palette. Oh, she's sick. And you know what? People don't think paint is cheap, but have the perception in your mind that paint is cheap. Paint is cheap. It's one of the cheaper things that we deal with. And I got this titanium white here, and the lid is smashed. So I'm gonna have to put it into a new tube, or just like keep cutting off what dries. Like, it's pretty bad looking, so I gotta use this one. So look, that was the chunk that dried, that just fell off. Now when I put white down, I'm the only person I know who does this, but just draw yourself a W. And that allows you to not have one big pile that gets adulterated. Like you can scrape off as you go. Plus W, white, I don't know. It's like a learning thing. like my saying, keep it clean in between. Right? I want to get these things to stick in our memory so we have good habits. Okay, so what we got to do is make our values, or colors in this case. I'll be putting an image up shortly on the screen of, whoa! I almost walked through the cable there. The studio's a little bit crazy right now. Let's zoom out slightly. Yes. Okay. So, the first thing I do when making a color string is find my halfway point, which you could say is the value of the 18% reflective gray card underneath, which is also the value of the tone of the canvas, presumably. I'm going to mix a little bit of the umber into the transparent red oxide just to knock it down a bit. It's going to be quite red. And I'll leave a little at the back because under the brim and some places on this painting, I will want to have a cooler black, darker, because this value is not quite dark enough. So just going to make sure that's kind of unified, although it doesn't matter in the grisaille stage. When I do my underpaintings, normally I use a different technique. However, this being the first of many, I figured, well, this is a good time to show a different way of working and see what the result is. The other good habit is wiping in between. So you got to learn to put the palette knife 90 degrees and schmaltz it off to get as much paint off so that you're not wasting as much. But here's where the saying comes, keep it clean in between. Always mix into your lighter color. Always mix into white or sometimes your yellow. So I'm going to pick up some of this white and I'm going to make my middle value here. If I start adding white into this, it may take the entire tube to get to the middle value. So it's better that you put a big pile of white. I'll kind of explain the math that I've figured out in creating these halfway marks. And then you don't want to get white into your dark because as soon as you do, you now no longer have your dark. White takes over. The other thing I know, so I'm going to mix my darks first, maybe 3 values. Really, I only need 2 because I've got that black one there. And then the lights I'll have like 5. But what I've noticed is I'll take it from my mid-tone and all the lights, every time I make a pile, I actually add double the white I previously added to that pile. So it's like twice this much and then 4 times this much to the same volume of paint. So we'll just get some of that in there. So what I'm doing off camera is I'm squinting my eyes to see if this is what I'm after. If it's, right now it's too bright, so I can afford to grab some more of that color. Now, it's going to be a very, very warm skin tone kind of color. I want that deserty kind of look. So I'm trying to already warm up the canvas rather than having the deadness of the grisaille. It's still a little bit bright in terms of its value. So I'll just keep adding more, just squinting my eyes. I'm not sure if that picks up on camera. I should move myself a little bit. You'll see when I pop up the picture, what I've done is I turned my reference image, not black and white, but I tinted it yellow, just to be a little bit warm. I'm gonna just check here. Throw the image up quickly so you can see what I'm talking about. Ugh. I gotta take the glove off to do this. All right. So the goal being that we're going to see, it's much grayer than my reds, but it's the value that I'm after. So this value right here that I'm making will be the value on the canvas that he's holding in his arm. That's going to be my middle value. And already the canvas up here is, you'll see shortly, It's a little different doing this. What I need is a top-down camera onto the paint. This is very, very red. A lot more red than I thought it was going to be. But I'm going to say that that's my middle, and I'm just going to take this off for a second because we don't need to see this just yet. Okay, back to the palette here. Back to the drawing board. So this pile I'm going to put in the middle. I'm going to use this thinned as my next darkest dark, and then I'll just get some of this into there. So making a slightly lighter dark. So I have essentially three. My darkest dark, this will be thinned, so it won't be that dark, and then this little guy here. I don't know how much use this will be. We'll see. Okay, so those are the darks. I call this middle value my tone, and it tends to be, so if an object was all white, if everything was white, I wouldn't paint that. I'd paint shadow, and I'd paint everything brighter than that as light. But we're now dealing with the fact that it's not that simple. There are local colors. These I'm talking through my back, but it should be bouncing off this board here. There are local colors that we're going to, I might make this slightly darker, just so I don't waste any more paint. I'll just pile that aside and create some more room for myself. Get that off the top. All right, keep it clean in between. This is very close to skin color. Well, we'll go with it. It should be interesting. And now I figure out what is the halfway point between these two. So I take some white, and I grab a little bit of that, and I just start going. I'd say that that's not quite halfway. Could use a little bit more color in there. I want to be able to find a value in between those two and in between these two, right? Get the whole 5 there. Just keep working. So the other thing that I like to think of is that this work that we do on the palette, this preliminary mixing, this is where the work is done. Getting your colors ready, much easier in oil than acrylic because it's not going to dry. Getting yourself set up for this kind of academic painting takes a little bit of time. I'm going to go a little bit lighter yet. I would need a big pile of this anyhow. Maybe a little lighter. That's looking a lot better. My brightest lights, should I have them on here, would be me just taking this dirty palette knife and just rubbing it in the white. I don't want to ever use pure white, actually, on a painting. That would only be for specular highlights, so wet things, metal, and you really want to leave that to the end. We can push the darks, and we can't really push the lights because we can't make anything brighter than this. So this will be my brightest, lightest white, essentially. It's not white, it's just a dirty white. And if you work in this method, you'll have, yeah, I'm going to probably even have one in between here. You'll have a great time. So I'm going to show you the thought pattern. I did a little bit of photoshopping beforehand to explain what's going on in my head and in my eyes, but it's not how I actually work, meaning the images I'm going to show you are theoretical, but let's do that. So let's just zoom out. So yeah, get your grisaille colors, obviously not gray, we're going to have so much color in this thing, it's going to be great. And now I'm going to change the camera view a little bit. This is fun. It's going to be a lot more work today, doing all this filming. Let's see. We'll get the palette to the right, and I guess I'll start at the bottom of the painting for now. Or I'll zoom in on sections. Anyhow, here I am again. Let's put the image up, and we'll talk about the point. What is the point here? Number 1. I hope that's right. Woo. So you can see on the image that I'm sharing, I have simplified the values to 5 values. 5, my hand's here, 5. What I did was I put it into Photoshop. So like the underside of the hat, some of the beard, you can see where the darkest darks are. And then the next darkest darks would be the beard, the top of the hat. So that's going to be these guys here. They'll be thin, so they'll be slightly brighter than they are. Then we take a jump over this guy. We don't really need him in this one. We need 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our mid-tone, which will be on the canvas, some of the leg part, the shadow under his neck, and this part of the forearm, which is not in camera right now. Then we jump up and we have 2 more brighters. So that's what I'm thinking. I would not paint from this reference image. It's simplified. It's called cutout in Photoshop. So let's turn that off for a second and see. What's closer to painting would be to have 7 variations. So 4 or 5 in the lights. And you'll see there's no white there, and we have the same canvas. And just 2 in the darks. Okay? So that's how I'm thinking, although that's not what I'll be using. I'll turn that one off. I am going by this. That's my reference. Much more changes, but just keep your eye, just squint and simplify. I also have to draw some elements because these guys have no ground that they're standing on. But the other thing I want to point out is we paint from dark to light. So I've got the shoe here I can start on, and then working up in the hat and what have you. So the other thing I want to mention when first beginning a grisaille painting, because this is the underpainting, I prematura, the first painting. Sometimes I just do it with, I make a map of what's light and what's dark. So thinned umber on all the shadowy areas, and then tone, and then you put the light on top later. So it kind of maps it out. But we're going to work from dark to light, picking parts out of the painting that need it. This will be kind of an underlayer map in which color will be applied on top of. I also need, I don't have background drawn on this, so I need to kind of play around and put some ground. My other concept is to have a, I'll just move up back to the painting. Oh, this will work out nice. My other concept is to have a cave behind him, like he's leaving Plato's cave, but falling off a precipice. When I say he, I know full and well it's me, but that's because I'm the cheapest model. So I'm going to draw something up here, and then there'll be cool mountains, and the sky will be yellow, and then I'll have a white sun. So that's why I'm reserving pure white for this area. He's stepping off into the unknown. And so I want that unknown to be represented by white. So we're going to push all of our darks darker than we see them because we can control those things. Ay, ay, ay. You don't do it that way at the tattoo shop. Okay, let me just see if I can make this look better. Let's start. I'll zoom in. I'm going to start at the top, at the hat area, because there's more variations up there. So we'll start like this. Let's just lock that down. Yeah, it's going to be a wiggle cam a lot of the time. So all I'm doing is I'm going to take the biggest brush that I am comfortable handling, like usually an inch. I'm going to use a filbert today. It's going to be rough. It's kind of like making a topographical paint by number type image. Let me zoom back out a little bit so you can see me as I talk. instead of just the image. So I just want to talk quickly about this first layer because we're doing this like it's a lesson, right? A little bit. Okay, so just want to mention a couple products. When doing your first layer of grisaille, presumably you want to paint over it as quickly as time will allow, like tomorrow. Fortunately, the raw umber paint itself dries rather quick, so your darks will be dry. But as you add anything into titanium white, it slows it down so the lights won't be. There's a couple things you can do. Your first layer should be thinner paint, then it comes out of the tube. So you can dip into solvent and work that way. Solvent being what cuts the fat. Okay, yeah, I'm on the screen. There's also my favorite thing, because it smells good. It's called Speakol. This is actually lavender oil, but it is considered, oh yeah, I'm just going to take a whiff of that. It's considered solvent. So you could use a little bit of that, so you're thinning, but you make it smell like Grandma's house. What I, since the beginning, was trained to use is this toxic, dangerous chemical stuff. I've put some of it into this, and that's what I'll be using. It's cobalt dryer. Cobalt dryer, you only want like a drip of it. It's a carcinogen, and it makes the paint slightly brittle. What's another option? Liquid. Liquid brand has cobalt dryer in it, and you get that weird jelly. I like to use the very, very thin stuff at the beginning rather than the jelly stuff, so that my earlier layers and my back layers aren't creating a lot of texture. You can see what appears to be a lot of texture, but if you rub your hand across this, it feels smooth as a baby's butt. And I like to start smooth and get thicker and thicker as I go. Finally, if you need an everything medium for later when you're going fat over lean, you can thin walnut alkyd medium. So it's got fat in it and it's got speed drying, but if you thin it with solvent, which is like what we used to call a 50-50 mix, but now it's all thirds with this particular one. This one is almost food safe, you know. It doesn't have the cobalt dryer in it. And then later, as you're painting your fat over thin, you can use this walnut alkyd. So I am going to use the cobalt. So I'm putting a drip onto my palette where I need it. The first colors don't need it because they're the pure paint and they're going to be thin with solvent. I really do need to figure out how to get a palette camera for you guys if I ever do this again. All right, we'll zoom in now. We'll zoom in. I got a very big bright light above me here. Okay. Hey, Bun. Yo, Dax. What up? Let's see if I can do better than I did last week. Okay. Let me put up the image now. Let's put up the simplified one first, and we'll just start working with the darks. Yay. Painting. So that was a long explanation. I wasted the first 20 minutes teaching, so my bad. So I'm thinning umber, raw umber, which will act as my blacks, and I need to see a reference image. I don't see what you guys see. Unfortunately, it's a different view for me. So I'm just going to open up my image and zoom in. We don't need to worry about detail at this point either. Just what is dark. And you'll see I actually know how to hold a paintbrush. None of this weird, hold it back. It's got a long handle. It's got a nice balance point. You want to step away from the painting. You don't want to be too close. So I'm just going to put that in there. It's very, very thin. And I'm just mapping values. Because it's thinned down, you'll be able to see through to your drawing. And you can leave it murky. It doesn't, because oil paint is like deliciously cream cheesy, you can leave the strokes because you're going to go over top of it and it will become thicker and thicker with each go around. I don't think that this camera placement is the best for you guys. I'm going to figure out what I can do better. But let's get some paint on. I like to use my finger. I can't use my maul stick because it's actually above me holding the light at this angle. But right now it's just rough. It's just mapping the back of the hat. So the light is coming from this area. So I know that my dark side is going to be here in terms of turning that form. So I'll just put it down. Don't worry, don't have hard edges, but don't worry about it being perfect. Paint mix up to other paint. There's this part of the beard's a little bit darker, the mustache. We'll put a little under there. The inside of the eye. Actually, these are going to get painted white. I'm going to have the glasses reflecting the sun. Okay, the collar. So just the deepest, darkest shadows. This area here. So it's not as dark as it's going to be. We'll be adding more dark on top. This is our map, though, to give us a larger range. I don't need these gloves. These gloves are causing me to sweat so bad right now. It's very hot in the studio, but it's good. We'll put the dark here. So you can still see through the drawing underneath. So we need not worry too much. All right, let's find some more darks in this painting. I'm gonna have to tilt it down. Actually, let me put the other, is that the simplified tones you guys are seeing? Yeah, okay. You wanna see the very simple one. It should look blobby from a while back. It should be painterly at this point. What? Okay. Yeah, I think this is gonna be tough. I'm gonna go down to the shoe just because I know it's a dark. We're doing dark before the light, just like in life. What I need in future, if I ever do one of these videos, is what Shona had, which is a helper. So I'm gonna actually down here, I know that these shoes are actually burgundy. Those are the ones I took off at the start. So I'm picking up some more of the reddish brown in it. And just treat it like a flat field of value. By getting a large range of values from the onset, you'll have a far more interesting painting, and it will help you map out the other parts. So just like that, I can still see the drawing underneath. And I also don't need to see the drawing underneath. Just up there, because as we get more and more detailed, it's like going from blurry to sharper and sharper. So I'm going to find the other places where that value exists. Some in the back of the tail. Yeah, this is not going to be easy on me here. Oh, well, it's worth a try, right? There we go. Oh, yeah. We'll try this. Tilting, tilting. Okay, that shows most of the painting. So behind this leg, there's a little bit for the fur, and I just make it sketchy, right? The painting is not meant to be a photo either. Like, feel it, love it, have some fun with it, slap it. I see some on the back here. A little bit along this edge. This is gonna become interesting because sometimes I like to leave shining through the background. Another dark part is up here along the front. Lights will go over darks. So if you overpaint your darks in terms of where they are, you can really get it back. They're also opaque. This thing's black, you know, it goes about there. I might just run a little here, even though it's not quite as dark, because when I run the next color beside it, it'll pick it up a little bit. Okay, what else? The eyes, the nose. I just put the whole thing on there. The eyes, I could just go over the whole eye. It's like the first part of painting. It's interesting actually, because I think that the old masters were more abstract artists in the beginning stages, according to the techniques that I know and learned, than even abstract artists are today. There's something going on here. We'll deal with it. Okay, moving up. It's not as much as you think. In fact, I'm also going to draw with this brush what I think the, so everywhere that I see like the watch up here, everything that I perceive as being black, I'll just go like that. Under here, boop. Bop, 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 bop. So it's not black, it's still see-through, it's gonna dry quick. Something needs some of this, some of that, maybe that edge, my tattoo. Definitely here. So I'm going back to the umber quick because I want that to be a little bit darker, and the umber is a little bit cooler. You get to play a lot with color temperature when you do a super warm grisaille like this. Let's see, something like that. We'll blend that later. And this whole side of the arm, not sure why. It's painting, so paint. Don't draw, I guess. And I'll increase a little dark down there. It's fun doing this too. I love doing it. Now, I don't see anywhere else. So on my palette, we'll lift it up. Show you. I'm gonna move up to here in the next round, and then slightly blend between the two. It doesn't have to be smooth, it's just you want to take some of the edges out. But before I do, I need to draw where he's walking. So, and there's going to be some shadows. If it's a hot, sunny day, shadows under their feet, they'll be fading out. Shadows under this guy. Thin paint. It's okay to look scratchy. In fact, it'll make your painting look better later. Leave a little space sometimes. Wiggle it. I'm surprised that this didn't look black to me. That's okay. Just get some paint on there, man. Okay. Let's put a little in there too. So, thinning with solvent. I'm going to draw some sort of ground. I want it to look like he's like really stepping off here. Like the white, this underpainting, I left the lead white because I want to reveal the concept of him stepping off into this precipice of the unknown. So the whiteness of the canvas, it being my first painting in this series as well. I might put some plants and things back here, I don't know. But I do know behind him, I want to put a cave. Like he's come out of this area. Okay, I gotta stand up to paint this. I don't know, maybe the cave will be a little slightly over. I gotta think too that the frame is gonna sit over a little bit. Cave has to be dark. Maybe it's got like a staircase or like, maybe the cave's there, then he like zipped back and forth along a trail that brought him down to where he is now. That's kind of cool. No reference for nature things. I don't need them. You let the brush do the work. Light will go on top. I'm also considering doing like a rattlesnake, maybe coiled up right here, just to represent danger. So because the light is up here, I need to make all of this really, really dark. That's going to help give me like a nice contrast, but also underneath this ledge would be shadow, right? So this is a little bit of a thin down mix of umber, raw umber. I haven't decided yet. I know I want to use warm colors, but I might cool the shadows if that's the case, if it ends up being warm light, cool shadows, but it might be cool light, warm shadows because I got this tremendous underpainting. And you know, you can scrub and it'll already look like rocks. Rocks and dirt. Gonna jump up to my other value now. Thin it, dance around, dance around. Just gonna steal a little bit of the light. This I'll put more lights on top because the sun is hitting it. But for now, just want to get basically paint everywhere on this. So maybe do some more up here on the cave. It's kind of the shape, it kind of reminds me of the ice caves. I can't see that. Let me go up a little bit more. Little ice cavey shape. But really, really warm. We're gonna have a mountain, cool blue mountain. It's just slicing through, I think, as well. Soft and varied. I don't know what's going on right there, but maybe the trail is quite light. Leave some of that underpainting under there because it's got a nice cool color that I can play with later. Sometimes I think at this stage, like, pretend there's urgency, right? It's something that don't worry about the preciousness because you're reacting to what's there, not what you wish it was. You know, like it should look just like the drawing right now. Like, nah, don't worry about it. You can always put a little dark back on top later. So there I got like nice rocks. Colors beside colors, values beside values. I'm using my left hand even. Like, it's not precious. Not at this point. Some will paint the flesh and the person maybe in perfect grisaille. But this nature stuff, have some fun. Let's put a light right there. I might look to, I really like the way that the ancient Chinese ink paintings of caves and stuff looked. I might like riff off that a little bit. But I don't know what this looks like yet. This is painting. Let's let it happen. Just happy little things up there. I feel like there's this cave opening has like a big spear in front of it. Not trying to make this look like Star Wars or anything. It has crossed my mind. A little bit fantasy. And the overall tone and mood, I want it to feel deserty. The card, I don't know here. The Fool card is a lot of yellow. Oh yes, and not only is it yellow, which represents the air element, I gotta say this right. It's funny. It's the element is Uranus. Wait, not Uranus. That's how I've always said it. Uranus. That's how the tarot readers and stuff say it online. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of rocky outcropping here as well. The rocks are going to be darker, so there'll be some more drawing up there, but we just need the offset of values. This is a coyote. I know it looks between a fox or a wolf. I needed a canine, and I think, let's just put some stairs almost there. I think that's kind of the colors I'm going for, that deserty kind of fox, coyote colors, because originally the image of me is in white and stuff, but I want to warm them up, hence this underpainting. So I believe that's all the darks. Let me just look. I have to. Oh yes. Okay. So next step in the paint is out of the pure paint and into some of the paint that has white. So I look for the next darkest value. Do some here. Fun stuff. And I don't need to worry about all the detail-y stuff at this point. Just whatever is the next dark. Some on the head. I'm not doing the perfectionism, get this to paint exactly how it looks, because I'm going to put color on top of this layer. I might not even have to for some of this, because it will be the correct value. I might end up saying, you know what, this warmth that it has is great. And it's nice and thin, it'll dry quickly. Make a good little map. Okay. Plus you get the feeling of being done quicker. Oil paint too, I can like move it around once it's on there. You just got to get something up there. So let's go, I'm going to just go slightly darker. So I'm, oh, I can just tilt this. Is that working? So I'm grabbing some of the pure paint and mixing it into that mix there. Just needed it to be a little bit darker because the transparency thing, got to be aware of that. Okay, let's go. So the dark here, that's so much better. The shadow on the back of the hand, down to the watch. And I turn my brush, I let it kind of dance, do things, make it fun for yourself. It's almost like doing like lots of little dots too. So I'm just gonna fix this because I felt that it was too light. So I'll just darken right over top. You can blend a lot with oil right on the canvas. Keep it alive. Keep some strokes painterly. When I first started painting, I was not painterly at all. I drew with paint. And trying to get the end result too early in the it's a process. You got to be open to that. Open to the awkward parts of it, or scraping it off. There's a lot of pattern on here, but it doesn't matter because I'm going for the value. I'll map the colors of the pattern to the value on top later. Okay, so this collar maybe, at least underneath it. This side of the body, next Wednesday you draw pictures of cats. Ow, canines, I don't want to do cats. I'm a dog guy. I definitely, I get along with dogs more than people. Definitely more than cats. You guys are cat guys, I know that. And I don't mean all of you. I'm speaking to the chat that I can actually see today. This thing that I drew, it's dark sage green. And also, if you look at the reference, it's not what you're seeing. I have to invent here because I want to see more of my painting carry case. So I can make that side of the arm dark because lighter colors will go on, showing the rounding of the form. And since the light's over here, shadows, right? We're going to do this whole side as well. There's no light there. And then following the edge, as I add the light in here, we'll go up to it and slightly blend it and get a very, very blurry version. Soft edges. That could be a little bit darker there. And following this fold, I'm just doing like a X pattern. I'm looking for actually the folds of the cloth, as if that pattern is very complex, but how do the shadows, like if I was wearing a white shirt, that's the ideal. But I wasn't, because this card, he's supposed to be kind of like a fool. Like a jester type fool. It is the fool card, but also supposed to be a little outlandish. So you just go right over top, make the shape that you want. Fun stuff. I do love painting. I don't do enough of it because of the amount of work just keeping this school open. Ideally, I would be doing this for 4 to 6 hours every day. It's the dream. Okay, that's good. Let's move down. So this whole side of the leg, in shadow, I even have like crisscrossy lines to show that to me. I'm just going to thin the paint a little bit more with the solvent because there's white in it now. And going forward, I want to really consider, that's too thick. I want to really consider some sort of drying agent if I'm in a rush to paint the color layer on top. I'm not in a rush, actually. So only in anything past tone with that much white I'll put it in. It can make your paint, like I said, it's brittle. Follow the, it's right behind this little fox's ears, this coyote. Just blobs, like I don't have to draw all the details. You can put them in after for sure, but why worry about that now? Value mapping. I'm really just looking for things to talk about at this point. I actually didn't think I'd be able to talk this well while painting. So that's kind of cool. It uses a different part of my brain. Drawing, no problem. You know what it is? Because it's value, I think it's fine. I can talk when I'm dealing with value. As soon as the colors come out and I have to like calculate warm and cool and chroma and hue, it's just all hell breaks loose. Take this one here. All of this is dark. So that umber is almost dry, that's down there already. I'll probably choose a lighter wood, I'm not sure. So I'm brushing this on very thin so I can see through it and pick up some of that texture underneath. Otherwise, why did I bother painting it, you know? Just put a little along this edge to represent the shadow coming from the body or this thing sticking out. And the bottom as well. Some areas I might go in and with really, really thin paint, draw some lines. This though is very, very light. Lighter than the tone of the canvas. So I gotta show that by putting some dark beside it. Some light catching there, so maybe it's going past. I'll just leave that loose for now. Maybe the bottom of this thing. The leather band on this is quite dark. You can't see it in the reference, but I know it is. I'll put the flaps. It's fairly dark as well. Maybe just a little bit in the maul stick. Where else? Okay, so going slightly lighter with it, but not much. Just gonna put some like, follow that line, making really fur-like brush strokes, because I can just leave that then. I like it. Looks good. Work smart, not hard. That's what I learned at the city. But, you know, things can happen. Those are the happy accents that we want to find some joy in this process. I might actually go dark there too. Help cut the leg out a little bit. Since the light is coming from up there. The bottom of the foot. So it's not the darkest dark, actually, but because I put some there because in my imagination he stepped in that dirt. So his foot is dirty. It's not just that it's a shadow. It's been in the studio a little bit. Under the toe. Thin it down a little bit. There we go. And the bottom of the foot. And of course the back of it too will have some. But the light sitting over top will make that look more like a nice little line. Shadow of the heel. I think that's good there. I don't know what's going on here. It's going to be colors. I'm just gonna scumble, which means like I'm turning and twisting and like dancing with the brush. Just let it do what it does. This whole side is darker. We're almost done the darks. Everything else is either the tone or brighter. It's a great way of working, man, for realism. Okay, what about this tail? Yes, the tail. Draw some fur. Brush is made of hair, so it does the job real well. If you're not having fun at this point of your own painting, it's probably not what you should be doing. I'm having a great time. That's what I'm saying. It's not work at all. So I still have my darks on the palette should I need them. But now as I work forward, oh, let me just look down the leg a little bit. No, that's good. As I work forward, there's going to be so much white in the paint, and so I have to be cognizant of how close to my dark edges I go. White takes over. Actually, it's been about an hour. Let me, instead of putting on the countdown, I'm going to put on my animation Tuesday in celebration of yesterday's Tuesday. So if you saw it, you saw it. But it does make it a little more interesting than just a 3-minute break. I need to pee and heat up this coffee. So that's what we're doing. Tuesday, I think it's 3 minutes. Enjoy. What the heck, what, right? Okay, look I changed the scene here too. Because then I can kind of talk to you. Maybe it's a better angle. You can see a little bit more. So that animation was the first thing I ever made after getting a scholarship, and it was done the traditional way on paper. It was like this tall. There's so much paper. And it was shot on an old security camera footage that recorded to SVHS, and they had set up a foot pedal that would pause per frame, but not actually frames, because video, technically it's a weird thing. And it starts in pencil, and then it turns to pen, and then as I went, I was like testing different things. So it was like, hey, can you do some cycles? We're gonna do metamorphosis. And then I just slapped them all together, and I drew every famous cartoon, which is like that death metal part where they're flashing really fast, so that I could kind of pay homage to all I was learning. That scholarship at QuickDraw was definitely a game changer. Also interesting with my yellow background here, QuickDraw was painted yellow, and we used to call it the happy place, the old location. All right, so, okay, let's also change this now. Let me just, there we go. So now the reference that you're looking at has a little bit more detail and resolution. Picking this as my middle tone, you'll see that this value is the same as some of the stuff in the legs. When you're applying the paint, it's actually a good idea to leave a slight space in some areas between what we will now call the lights, even though I'm doing the mid-tone first, and the darks. Often you're painting with warm and cool colors, so that area where light and dark meets grays out when you're painting. So you can take a very, very soft brush later and go in between these. It's oil paint, it's still going to be wet. So that's nice, like I can work more details later. So I will now pick, oh, I missed some dark up there. Wait, before we jump in there. At this point too, you may also decide to change your brush. We'll put this feather a little bit too. To keep the lights and darks separate, often a good idea. So it's very, very thin there. So that's the paint without the white in it. That's just the transparent red. I still want to see a little bit, right? The hat is pretty much all dark, so I'm wearing it right now. You see it's dark, even in the light. This little line in the hand. Won't worry too much about the rose because it's just a squiggle. Let's move on. Just looking at my reference here. Yeah, to the middle tone. So you'll see right away that middle tone. Yeah, so that's the right value. It might not translate to you because I have such a bright light, but I just tested it against the screen there, and I like what I'm seeing. So I'm just gonna get it as a base. That's the middle. We did the first thing I made between my light and my dark. And I can still see through it. I can still see that leathery, canvasy. It doesn't have to look like an Andy Warhol, right? That's why I say they were like abstract. So now as soon as I put this here, this looks like the right value. It's bright. And that is all cause of the underpainting. That's the value of the underpainting. So the most color, this has the most chrominance and color, is the turning of a form, or you'll see as the arm is turning, that's where the most color is, and then it gets lighter from there because the white in the paint kind of bleaches out the color. All right, so that's our, just gonna soften that a little bit along that edge. It's a hard edge and I'll probably draw it later. I might even leave some of the pencil there. So this color is going to be next to all, like as the form turns. So you're gonna see it everywhere you see dark. We're going from dark to light. So just keep following that pattern and you'll know where you're going to paint next. Helps if you understand light. I am going to softly blend these together because I'll probably harden up the edges when I'm looking at a different reference. But I'll be painting colors because I believe these pants have a lot of color. They're covered in paint. What we're looking at is just like the black and white version. In fact, I'm not looking at the right version. You guys are seeing something different than me. So I need to open that one now. I'm working from the master, which doesn't have any of the transitions, but kind of want to use this as a lesson opportunity for those who, that's why you come here. Free learnings, right? I'm still weeks away from opening here. My admin assistant, who does all the website and listings and all that, got the coots, and I said, stay away. I want to keep coming in to paint. So we're a week or two behind. Normally the spring semester here doesn't even start till April. So don't worry if you haven't heard any news or you think you're missing out. It's happening. I will start booking models once Christiana returns. It's going to be great. Thinning with solvent. I still want it to be slightly transparent. I want to still see some of the work. I don't want to lose everything that I've built, right? This should be darker. I'll just use my finger to square that off. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to use your finger, cloths, whatever. We'll make this value of this skin of this hand is equal, in a simplified sense, because it's in shadow. We'll tighten that up later, to our middle tone here. This dog is going to be lots of fun because there's just lots of fur areas. Oh, I need a little bit more light in there. Travel up here. I can see, you know, when I'm drawing, I can't see your guys' chat. But when I'm painting, I can look at it, which is, in a way, better. Better setup. Okay, a little bit there. You see how light sits right on top of dark? Just right on top, wherever you need it. That's why we do it in this order. There's method to what the old masters did. It's been good for 500 years, so let's not forget that. So the shadow side of the leg, but it's white. It's oh, I saw an area I missed. I'm grabbing the deepest, darkest right now because I have white in my brush. I missed that little area, and then wipe it out. Wipe it out. I'm being impressionistic. Be very loose. I'm not sure what the style is that I'm trying to do this painting, actually. That's the joy of starting a new project. Presumably, this will be the worst painting out of the whole series because it's the first one and I'm trying to figure out what it is that I'm doing. I don't know what the style is or what I'm going to learn from it, but maybe at the end I'll paint the Fool again and we'll come full circle. The story of the major arcana, this is going to be light down here, is often called the Fool's Journey. So he embarks on the unknown, be it for discovery or sense of self. You know, people use tarot for different reasons. I like thinking of it in terms of like Jungian psychology. So, oh yeah, and I like Princeton brushes. I have rosemary and stuff too. I'm using, it was a soft brush, but I've used it so much that the bristles are harder now. And especially for background and stuff, you want more like the HJs, like hog hair. Just gonna lighten this a little bit. There's some lighter areas here. The more we get done in the beginning, maybe it ends up being less work later, right? So why if you can get the effect right away, do you keep working it? I am guilty of overworking probably every painting I've made. So do as I say, not as I do. And not only overworking everyone, but also not finishing them. I don't think I've ever finished a painting. I abandoned them. There we go. And it's only 7:30, so I'm gonna take a sip of this coffee. We're halfway. Sitting down, chilling. Right next to the dark is our darkest light, or this tone. Darkest light has the most chroma and color, and that helps you really enhance the turning of the form. That's also the area where you're going to play with warm and cool. As well. With Grisaille, there's not much there. This is all the same. I'm actually really surprised by this transparent oxide red, how close it is to a skin tone. I use red umber, which is a little bit more neutralized. Like if I added bone black to this, it would probably be the color. And it depends what brand, of course, that you're dealing with. The red umber that I like to use for flesh on these paintings is by Old Holland. Martino got me into that. But you can make your own color, you know. If I added like a slight bit of ultramarine blue to this, I think it would be awesome. Same as burnt sienna. But burnt sienna is opaque. And this is using transparent paint here. With the background mountains, they are going to be like this weird stripe of cool in there. And I also want to look at like mountains around this area. Just drawing them here. So they'll be like, it'll be all yellow and warm. And then they'll just be this like ripping through this very, very atmospheric, put that right there. Blue, light blue coming through. At least that's my intention. Oh, I forgot this area too. If you forget it, you can always get back to it because there's layering potential. That's what I really like about painting in oil. Not the waiting time. In Calgary, it's not so bad because it's dry here, but oil painting doesn't actually, it's not drying by like heat. It's oxidizing. The paint is oxidizing. So let's go up here a little bit. These hardening oils that we use, you know, we had the old man garage and grandpa's workstation growing up, and you would see the oil dropped on the ground and it would turn into like a skin. I have examples of that in my painting class, but I'm sitting down and I'm not going to go get them. All the way up to here, turning of the form. Sometimes it's thinner, sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's softer, sometimes it goes right over the side of the knee. Now I don't know if this is actually a remnant from cutting out in Photoshop, but it might look nice. Have a little bit of darker than it should be over there. There is a little bit of the turning of the form on the other side, but it's not this dark. So we're gonna move up in our lights. I'm gonna scrub this out a little more to make it brighter. So just removing some of that paint. I want the painting to resemble this part of the process. So I'm just gonna scrub it a little bit so it looks like an underpainting waiting to go, which it is. This painting maybe represents what this painting is to become, right? Okay, back to that kind of middle tone. There will be some lights up here, but they can sit on top. There'll be some light, I'll just leave a little bit of the underpainting shining through. Just remember, you're turning the form, so you're along the edge of the darks where the darkest light is, which must be lighter than the lightest dark. You map it like this, you're gonna be fine. It's a little bit sitting there. Lights sit right on top of darks. You can also scrape through the paint or wipe it off to get something lighter. Just saying. Just because it's there. I'm gonna have to stand up now. No more lazy painter. Beside the beard, turning the face around and the eye socket. And around the ear, but not the ear itself, surprisingly. A little bit along the edge of the hand. Definitely this part of the arm. And it sits right over top. You can soften all this stuff later too with a clean brush. There is some of this is light, but just under there knot. The full, just under their knot. Okay, go like that, and some of the flower stuff. Bloop, blop, bloop, blop, blop. That's a technical move. Blop. And the hair, which is pink, but we'll put that value there. Values, values, values. Family values, all sorts of values. Some of these folds might be nice. They're not shadows, but the turning, maybe. Under the neck is, we'll treat it like a dark light for now. So I'm just trying to get up to that beard, but not adulterate my color too much. The shapes will be slightly different when painting more detail. In fact, I'll just go right over top of that old line there and then bring it to this side. Maybe some of there. Definitely in this tattoo area. Flesh in the shadow, but it's the dark light, like light is still in there. The shadow would be from the shirt. So it's fairly thin, scrubby. God, I am no Bob Ross though, I tell ya. This talking while painting is odd. Back in school, I didn't actually study painting at AU Arts. ACAD. I was a sculpting major because I actually wanted to learn something. This thing's going to be like green, so I believe this part was shiny and white, so we leave it and have the underpainting come through. Where else? Maybe a little bit more down here. So often the high contrast areas mean a harder edge, like a fold going over hard. There. We'll be able to draw some darks over top, more liquefied. So the next, actually I need some more up here. The next stage, once something is dry, is you start again in the dark, but as you move up from the darks to the lights, you use less and less dark each time. Let's put a little more dark there. Until, you know, on the last day, you're just painting highlights with white. Soften that out. I didn't do under the nose. These are like little detail areas, so it'll come up later. Definitely gonna leave the glasses though, turn them white. This feather's gonna be red, and so red is a middle value. So this is the middle, like right out of the tube. This is the middle value of the paint already, and I'm just eyeballing. I see a few more places I need the middle. Here. Let's use my finger. That's fine. Right along the edge of darks. Okay, next value jump. Now we're talking about middle lights. So, wait, let me hold this up. Wait, where are we? Middle lights. This value here. And then we'll land on the lights. Of which there aren't very many. So middle light would be the majority of this apron. Or the fold down part of my coveralls. Well, that's like my skin color. We're going a little lighter than the back with that. I'll even put some here. It's just a little bit lighter. So that back tends to be the gray, the little gray paper, if you do it right. Leave some of the dirty edge of that underpainting. Little undulation there. You can blend this to the next color over because it's a light. I mean, you can blend them because, like I said, this is grisaille, so you're not having warm and cool happen. This will sit right over top so I can create hard edges. I'm not sure if that's showing up on camera, but believe me, put a little light in this tail. This is all
Just not, the light is not, I'll have to add lights to this critter because I'm not sure that the reference image that I had the lighting, I think it was like in snow. So I'll have to add more extreme lights and darks once I get the form figured out, to make up for the fact that the resource material doesn't match the lighting scenario that I have. All in a day's work. So that should be darker there too. It'd be funny if you were painting along and you did a painting just like mine. I don't need the competition. It's already hard enough just showing up to do this stuff. A little bit of this on the other side will show the rounding of the leg and actually the compression of space. So let me just highlight that a little more so you can see what I mean. So it's turning. This will probably wind up being lighter on top and whiter. More like this with a little bit of tone on it because it's actually a white garment. Gotta be careful now I don't mix down the brightness here. So it's a little bit lighter here. Bigger, flatter area, catching a little bit more light, some folds. This paint is thicker because of the titanium white. So it's less transparent, and this has the, normally I would put speed dryer in it of some sort. I'm not. Because I'm not going to be painting this again tomorrow. Too busy for that. But I'm glad that I could use this live stream to get myself over the hump. According to my schedule, I already need to be designing the next tarot card. I run a tight ship. You know what? I don't know why that's dark. We will figure that out later. Let's just blur it out. Something happened with my plan. Okay. Dancing around areas. Just letting it happen. So down here, because it's so far from the source of the light, it won't be the brightest bright. So I'm one step down, right? Still white, the white garment, but just, it can't, it's so far from it, it can't be that bright. This hand can be, because hand is skin color, and which is not pure white. Even though it's really close to the sun, it just won't blow out. But part of that watch will have a little white dot because it has a metallic part. We'll put a little light right there. Whoops. Swipe it with your finger. If I had used cobalt dryer, I would not suggest touching your paint, as cobalt is a heavy metal. And I don't want you to die from some weird cancer because you touched your paint. Van Gogh used to put his paintbrushes in his mouth to keep their point, to sharpen them. And so supposedly cobalt can cause delirium. And I think we would agree there's a lot of cobalt in a lot of Van Gogh paintings. So maybe he just ingested too much. You guys learning anything? No, I don't even know if anyone's on here. I see Harry and Greg doing their thing. Thank you guys always for coming, joining me. Harry's a ceramicist, a potter. We've been friends for more than 20 years. Met in the old art school. So there's light on the face. We will figure this out more so later. So I'll just keep it really soft. The nose would definitely have some on. I'll have to look at another source image. And this will have the lightest light. Dancing on that shoulder. So we'll just put it in as a reference point. So that's my like dirty white. Add a little bit to the hat too. The dirty white. I don't know why, but there's like some right here. Maybe that's a button or something. Maybe a little bit here, a little bit here. Could be the color of the garment too. We'll put it on the maul stick as well. Even though it's more of a tan object. And the maul stick is metal. And metal things that are reflective tend to be very, very light to very, very dark contrast. Metal, anything with specular light, glass. Hopefully, okay, it's almost 8. Hopefully we get everything painted enough. I like to keep it loose and bubbly at first, this type of painting, and then sleep on it, and then come back and then stare at it and decide what can I not live with, because by the time I'm done this is like the job portion. I'm gonna have to pick out things I don't like. Like if there's a couple edges that are too hard, I'll hit them the next day while it's still wet, but my eyes are fresh. I'm not really even like looking at what I'm painting, like, is that the hand? No, I'm just trying to meet the one color beside the next. Is the shape right? It doesn't matter because I'll refine it later. Like that shape might not be right. I don't know. Can't care right now. It's just a value map, and we're not doing it the hardcore way. That would be more boring to watch because you'd watch for 3 hours, but you'd only see like this little part of the leg get done. Future ones. I'm not going to do this whole painting as a live stream. Each measured part, like. So this tail's really light under here, whether that means it's white fur or because originally the model or the creature was standing in snow, so there might be reflection. We can go with that. The source image actually didn't even have a paw here, so kind of guessing. all this should be much darker. I kind of miss that part. So we'll do like a halfway. There we go. Value beside value. Shapes. Yeah, that should definitely be darker. So I'm actually just, because there's white in it, I just actually grab the dark and I blend. You can do it. Blend right on the canvas. I don't know why I missed this part. So that was the middle, the medium value. Now I'm back to the next light. Turning the form. Okay. Next light, not the dirty white. And I suspect that is probably more what it looks like. Just use my finger. I'm not worried about the exact shapes. There's going to be so much color put on top of these things. Loose map today. Loose map. If it already looks pretty good at this point, like you're refining as you go. So if you build off it and then you're like, well, I can make the leg look more round, you know, you're step by step, you should be adding resolution in a way. So we'll put oh, that's too light. Put this here. Put this here. This is all supposed to be lighter. The paint is starting to feel a little bit sticky, so I'm just adding some solvent, which will make it a little bit runnier again. Trying not to pick up too much of the color beside, because as I go, I lose the brightness of that value. Fortunately, this is going to be all softened. When it's wet like that, it creates a hard edge. And I don't need it in this case to be hard. All right, down here. Oh, need a little bit brighter one. There we go. Same goes for this foot. It's the next color of light. And if I just slightly touch the next, it softens the turning of the form. Big brush, big shape. It kind of looks like a foot already. Enhance this a little bit with a little bit more light there, as if it's like coming by, hitting them. Dog. I'm going to lighten the top part of this muzzle because I need to do that light coming down trick. But this will be slightly darker as it turns. They have so much coloration on them. Still making it look kind of brushy like fur. Another thing with painting is like it's an illusion, and so you want to make some things look like different textures. Okay, now we go up here. Let me put some more just quick lights on here as well. This has become probably like less creamy color and more maybe cooler. Got a little crazing on this part of the canvas. That's when the speed of the oil drying and the lead is a little different, and it looks like little worms. So this I want soft. So I just keep, the more you rub the brush over, the more blendy you get between them. The more soft you get, especially with a soft edge. Like this is a filbert, so I can turn where I'm blending. I can still see the crazing underneath, but we'll leave the chest only to there. I also wanted to add a necklace in here, so that will go over top, and then I'll paint the shadow in later. Collar. I gotta be up. Oh, that turned out nice. Pretty early tomorrow, but we'll see how much longer I can keep this up. There's no one in C space right. Oh, I just about reached for a drink of this delicious solvent. So normally I leave the lid on the solvent and I put it down a shelf so that I don't drink it. But I realize now that I put my drink by the computer, so. Good stuff. Painting. Such a joy. It's like meditation. Oh man, okay. I have this like, what's that? A Headspace app. And somehow I did a 44-day streak. And I swear it didn't count one of my meditations. So now I'm back to 0 or 2 now, but I was hoping to do like 300. Like I must have just missed it by 10 minutes because I meditate within 24 hours. I think I slept in. You're gonna ruin my count. There's some lights here. They can sit on top later as well. So I don't worry as much. That's the detail phase. I'm not even gonna touch that. I really like how the brush through went there, and maybe I'll try to maintain. That's one of those happy accidents. Gotta love the happy accidents. It's hard to like, especially if you're Virgo, let those things happen. Like, I know what I want this to look like. And I'm gonna push like Sisyphus till it does. Drag that over a little bit. We're getting there. The ear's going to be redder anyway, so it will become darker than what I've left there. Just gonna dance this around a little more than what I see because it's a mottled texture, the actual garment bit. Okay, so I'm just gonna, so lights go on top, and the thing is they get very thick. And I could put highlights there later. Anywhere there's the lights now, I go to the next light over to help turn the form. So it's hard to perceive, but there'd be some right there. Might be impossible to see in this video. So I'm gonna now switch out the drawing that you guys see for what I'm looking at. And hopefully this makes sense. Oh yeah. Okay, getting closer, right? Now I'm gonna maybe pick a smaller brush, I don't know. Undoing. Gotta find my bearings here. So, I'm just zooming in. I'm gonna start adding a little more shape with light. So I'm gonna get a smaller brush, just a wee bit smaller. Clean this one out. I don't want to get caught up yet in painting details. Can happen in the next phase, but this is a small area, so smaller brush. I'm just dragging the paint that's already there. I don't really need any more paint. This might be where I should be zooming in, but that's dark. So now that I've got I'm gonna do some of the dark stuff. I could do some more detail stuff now with the last hour, half hour, whatever I decide to do here. Fine tuning. I guess this is a little more like drawing. So I'm going back, grabbing dark. I'm just gonna kind of go down and refine. I might put a darker edge to help cut the figure out, but I think the blue will do that anyhow. So these kind of details could be done the next session as well. We're kind of drawing in some of the things you may have lost in the drawing underneath, which I can still see when I'm up close. In the next phase, you'll start to really lose it. I'll put a little dark on that edge too. This is the raw umber. Not with the transparent. I gotta take some of my chin down there. Gotta take some years off this boy. He's supposed to be young, the fool. I'm young at heart. I was considering not putting the beard in, but this is where I'm starting the project from. Trying to also stay out of the light paint. A little shadow under the ear. Just redefining it before it's lost. Get some of this mid-tone here for some of the things happening in these folds. And just take down some edges. These ones are a little too harsh. Based off what I'm looking at, it seems like the color on top can do some of this work. Can I turn this more towards you? Sideways. All right. Some of this coyote, it's already done, really. That's great. First painting? I don't know. We'll see what happens as I go. I wouldn't mind some unfinishedness to this area. And like this drip I really like. Maybe I'll have some like plants come over the edge or something too. You know what? I don't want to touch the canvas. Oh, good. I don't have a maul stick here. It's in the drawer. But I do have this cane that I made when I was a wee young lad in high school. So in order to not put my hand on the painting, I just lean it. Canes are great for this. They just happen to be a little bit more than I would want to carry all the time. But if you need a cane, then you're killing two birds with one stone. Just defining this back foot a little bit more. There we go. Just working in some darks. Some of this is a little bit illustrative. Like in order to make this leg look more in front of that dog, I will around the edge, almost like drawing a line, increase the change of value to give that illusion of a little more distance. That's also something that I'm learning to do more in tattooing, because it's a value thing. We'll just put it like that. So it brings them more forward. This coyote will have near black, I think, on the back. So there will be not as value, but as texture. Hair, for me, is texture. It's not, you don't draw spaghetti hair, right? You want to just like let the brush make the lines, And if you want something to look really, really, really soft and fuzzy, like I used to do with rabbits, you use lots of layers of really soft combinations. They just look so fuzzy. There we go. This tail is in motion, so it might do well to keep it a little blurry along the edge. Right? He looks like he's jumping. If we freeze time too much, that might not be great. I may, okay, so thin paint sticks to thick paint pretty good. I'm going very, very thin here. But sometimes it's smarter to wait until the paint has dried and go over top if you want that really, really sharp edge. Just process. You don't have to worry about that in acrylic. Just gonna grab the mid-tone here for the front of the muzzle. Because there's a little bit of raw umber, it's graying out my color. So he does have coloration here. So just blend that in. The nature of the beast. I can also glaze this part with yellows and get a different effect for the fur and the color. So in order to pop this leg, I'm going to use a little bit of lighter along the edge. And that can be a hard edge because it's two different things. I want to play with the hard and the soft here. This is more illustrative. You want to have some lost edges like right there, where you don't know whether it's in front of or behind. Soften those edges. Just like wiggling a little bit. Gonna put some lighters here. Lighter, but not lights per se. It's just like catching the edge a little bit. Oh, and back into that dark. So a really, really deep shadow underneath the edge here because it's a cast shadow. This may become full black. We'll see what happens as I go. Layers, baby. Regain some more of the shape. Okay. Triangle there. Full small lines. In the paint a little bit. There's actually a highlight in here Let me put the mid-tone down first. That's not it. That's it. Help set the doggo's ears off there. So light there. And the seam. I mean, that might even be too much detail. I could be losing it right now, you know? Light will sit on top of dark. You need the dark to show the light. All right. Shall we cheat in a couple highlights here? Just for fun. That's not even full. Whoa! That needs to be darker. Small things. Probably use, when this is dry, kind of a rag technique on it to give it that mottled effect. I'll put some stain on it and then just kind of roll something over it. But like I said, I'm not going to be broadcasting all these, so you'll never know how I did it. Effects. Delicious. Thanks guys for all the comments and so far. All right. Just gonna put some more dark up here. Before it's lost. There we go. And soften the edge. Dark to light transition. You can pretty much just leave that where that is. This should be drawn across. This is catching light. I'm gonna add a fold right here. It's kind of like the mall stick was covering it, but I want that more folds is gonna be nicer looking in the long run. Kind of more action. I don't know how that came across as light. You know, for the sake of argument, no, because I need to do this guy first. I was gonna put the brightest white there, but we'll just leave this rose maybe. I'm gonna paint it really painterly, not realistic at all. A slight bit darker along the edge here. Just to help cut it out. Finding shapes that I can work with a little bit more. Things get lost with that loose process sometimes. That we want to be sure we grab before they're gone. I'm not too far from being done for this session now. It's based off knowing that this paint is so wet and I want it to dry. So if I keep adding material, it gets thicker and thicker. Well, that's for the next part. There's a nice shadow from that shirt right there. So it gives a crisp edge. Cast shadows. I think you should always harden cast shadow edges more. Because they're what makes things pop. That's why I like Caravaggio style of painting with those hard shadows. So nice. The beard and all that doesn't matter because it's going to go right over top. What about that with the flesh tone? Okay, you know what? I'm nearly there. I can spend 5 hours massaging this, and then I'll just start making mistakes. I know myself. So I think I'm gonna stop there for tonight. Take the, we'll have a look at this proper. Yeah, you guys are getting kind of a glare there. But I think this looks really pretty so far. So I'll put the camera like straight on. Right, straight on. A little crooked. And then I'll turn the screen guy off. This will be softened. Okay, so yeah, look at this feather. What a guy. Let's turn the reference off and fade. Okay. Whew. Hey, check this out. See this feather in my hat? I got this in Holland at the Rijksmuseum, but it's also a pen. Now this feather here is going to be red, but it's the same idea. So I've been carrying this pen in my hat now. I should buy lots of these. The pen is mightier than the sword, but also it looks crazy. It's so long. In fact, when I'm driving, it hits the roof, so it's kind of comical. All right, we're going to close down the show here. Yeah, it's 8:30. I don't need to push it any longer. I'll take a little picture from social media. I did an unboxing today. If you haven't seen it, check it out on my personal YouTube channel, which is Brian Batista. I got a whole bunch of really cool stuff from Stuart Sample, like neon colors, more acrylic based, but after the unboxing, I waited like 2 years, I think. It was a Kickstarter. I can throw the movie on at the very end here if you want to see it, but I felt like a kid in a candy store today. What else? I'm supposed to say all these things at the end. Oh, like, comment, subscribe, share. Hey, this doesn't look half bad. Do all the other algorithm things that one does on YouTube. Yeah, I think we'll get back to drawing next week, hopefully. If you are around and I'm in the studio, just knock, come in, have a visit. There's plenty of space in here. And I am doing a lot of private classes, keeping myself pretty busy. Things will be opening up for our spring semester, unless madness befalls the earth, which it could. Nowadays, never so sure. Thank you again for joining me. Shouldn't block the art line. I hope you enjoyed a little bit different take on the regular live stream. Does look like me. That's a win. And I'm gonna say ta-ta for now, but I am gonna put that 6-minute video at the very end here because I want to. It's the Atelier Artista site, so it's different than my personal site, and I would love to share it because even though it's 6 minutes long, you know, you film it and then you got to put in After Effects and they put the words across. You know, it's like 2 hours of work. So let me just get that intro hit. Okay, so then, thank you. This coffee is not keeping me up tonight, so I'm gonna go home, relax, be up early, and back to the studio. And I'm just gonna say ta-ta for now, and as I do the bunny wipe, I'll do like the fade and see how this works. Hey, it's me, Brian Batista. My friends call me Bunny, and I'm doing an unboxing. Now, before I do, I want to say I had donated money to a Kickstarter in the past because I had some products by Stuart Semple, the black, and he sent me this mirror the other day, this mirror paint, and it came with a little button. So I'm super stoked because also this huge and heavy package showed up at my door yesterday. And I was so excited, and it was dark, a little too dark to film. So it is already opened, but I'm going to pretend to open it again, and actually everything inside I haven't opened. So let's see what's exciting for art materials in the studio. Recycle. Waybill. So wow, it's leaking. As you know, my favorite color is pink, and I've got a big bag, 500 grams of nice pink pigment. And this is supposed to be the pinkiest pink of all. I've also got yellow. It's going to be very neon, I think, in the future. And some green. You know what? There's not going to be enough room on this table. I'll just put them back here. What else do we got? You twist me right round. Not sure what this is. Let's reach in. Oh yeah. Some more pinkest pink. It's already in liquid form. I got a little wristband and stickers. Oh, they're also pink. Who doesn't love the stickers? I got pink lit. So these ones, yellow, glow in the dark. These pigments are black light sensitive. And I ordered a lot more than I thought. It is going to be a fun time. I think it's okay to spend your very last dime on art materials, so do that. Wait, there's something else in here. A pencil. Someone always needs that. Thank you, Stuart. So this is from Culture Hustle. We've also got some neon blue pigment, and that's a lot of pigment there. Some glow in the dark. I'm spoiling myself, clearly. This is flow, so this must be what you add to liquefy some of that stuff. This was so some base for the pigments, some flow, make it runnier. Let's get down to the good stuff. Oh, more black. The blackest black. Looks like I'm going to have to stop being an oil painter and just start painting an acrylic. This here is Black 3.0. Wow, I'm excited to see what these look like. That's going to take a little more time because I got the live stream tonight. And tonight in the live stream, I'll be doing Grisaille on this painting, 6 till 9. There's still more in this box. Blue, light activated. Basically, I bought like one of everything they have. Except here is where things change a little bit. So the product that was on Kickstarter was Stuart Semple, his spray. What this device is for, oh my god, the packaging is beautiful. And the design is so lovely, but check this out. This is the first time I'm checking it out too. In here are these spray nozzles. So essentially, and I got a lot of them, you can mix up those paints, put them in a Coca-Cola bottle, of which I haven't had pop in a long time, but I bought it today.
so that I'd have a bottle to test this out with. And then you fill the bottle up with air, and it turns any paint into basically a spray can. But now I don't have to buy the Molotov and have, you know, all the nasty chemicals in here. So there's 3 there. I figured I'd need a lot, one for each color that I'm making. So I bought a few other. Whew, what a haul. I'm gonna need the knife now. That's why I have that. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Oh yeah. Good stuff. Actually, I should lift this up because I bet you there's the pump in the bottom. Man, these guys, you know, genius. I hope he becomes a billionaire because he's making awesome tools for us artists. But not only that, oh, spray can, different lids, tubes. Oh my gosh, they've really gone over and above. Little instruction packets for the pump it. If you haven't been an early adopter like me and pre-ordered, it's like a little bike pump with the PSI. I highly recommend you do. And if you're in Calgary and you're not sure and you want to come try it out, feel free to come down to Atelier Artista. Stuart, you've done a wonderful job. Thank you, Culture Hustle. When I do the testing and whatnot, I'll do another sharing. But for now, I actually want to play with my 2 toys and get ready for tonight's live stream. So thanks for joining me. Ciao for now.